This project seeks to examine the ways in which adults learn differently from non-adults and the implications for teaching methods. I have a list of 6 questions, so I'm going to run through these with you. Question 1, could you give a bit of background about yourself in terms of your learning and teaching experiences, please?
Yeah, my learning experiences being a BA honours degree at Derby University doing sociology for 3 years. After then I spent about 4 years in various jobs, earning a bit of money, nothing particularly related to my degree. And then decided to go into teaching, doing a PGCE in FE at Huddersfield University in 2005. This was 1 year with also work placements involved as well. And that was so 4 years ago now. Since then I've been working in a couple of institutions teaching. First of all 2 years at a high school teaching compulsory education, that was health and social care, and also teaching sociology to A-level students as well. After that I now work at a further education sixth form college, teaching sociology there to 16 to 18 year olds.
Thank you. And what is your definition of an adult learner?
An adult learning, I think there's two types of adult learner, I'd say. Adult learning will take place in non-compulsory education. However, the students, certainly that I teach in further education, I wouldn't really class that as adult learning, but it's kind of in between. It's in between compulsory and non-compulsory education, as in adult learning, non-compulsory education. Undergraduates, well, in the eyes of the law, we'd consider to be adults, and so adult learning taking place there. But I think really the main branch of adult learning is perhaps after that, returning to education as a mature student.
Well, what do you believe, question 3, what do you believe to be the motivation for adults pursuing learning?
I think there's a variety of reasons why adults go back into learning. From my experience being wanting to follow a career path which used my degree, and with my degree and many degrees, you can't just, after you get your degree, you can't just walk into a career. Often you have to do further training, and that was something that I was looking for in going back to university. For many mature students, it's wanting to go back into education, maybe because they've got a second chance to have a go again at A-levels and at possibly getting a degree to better their career, to better their situation. And maybe once children have grown up as well, there's quite a lot of people, it seems, going back into education once they've got the time and the money to be able to support them.
Well, and question 4. Do you believe that the distinction between compulsory and non-compulsory education in the UK has implications for how students learn?
Yeah, definitely. There's in compulsory education, well, students have to be there, and so you're talking about really under the age of 16, and so how students learn at that age can be very different from adult learners. Students under 16, well, they have to be there, so it definitely affects your learning style, and many children are in situations where they've got so much going on already in their lives that they will affect their learning patterns, and non-compulsory students or adult learners, they have to be much more self-motivated, and they supposedly they want to be there, So therefore would have much more maturity with their learning. And I've found that when teaching, one of the main differences between teaching compulsory and non-compulsory learners is that in teaching in high school, often a lot of it is just retaining their concentration and trying to motivate them constantly, and crowd control as well. Whereas adult learners, it's more kind of stimulating their mind and stimulating discussion, which is as a facilitator, that's my purpose for adult learners.
Brilliant. And leading on from that, question 5, do you believe that adults in non-compulsory education learn differently to non-adults in compulsory education? If so, why, and what are the implications for teaching methods?
I think there's, as I've just mentioned, being the element of retaining concentration and crowd control amongst compulsory learners. But teaching, something I've noticed teaching in the sixth form college is it's quite a difficult couple of years, because the students have just been in compulsory education when they first arrive in lower sixth, and they're used to being spoon-fed. Because it's very target driven, very results driven, the way that they've been taught. So when it comes to independent learning, they can't do it. They don't have the skills to motivate themselves and to do their own research. They very much depend on me as their teacher in order to give them the answers. And so you've got that to contend with, but then also in the upper sixth students, I'm trying to get them more to be self-motivated and independent, because I know that many university lecturers who I've spoken to have complained that undergraduates don't have that self-motivation, don't have that independent learning and the ability to analyse and evaluate. And so that's very much a criticism of sixth form teaching. But it's difficult because we have to contend with students coming up, being used to being spoon-fed and trying to get them thinking independently, and it's very difficult to do that.
Great. And final question. What obstacles or challenges do you think adults face in learning, and do you think that these are unique only to adults?
I think, adult learners do have unique problems, but also I think some problems are the same for adult learners as well as children. I think the problems are unique to adult learners, being that they'll have more pressures outside of education. They may have children of their own, they may be a single parent, they may be a carer, they may have a job to hold down as well, money issues, and so there's so much more, you could argue, that's pulling them away from education. Many barriers to their learning in that sense. Also, being out of education for such a long time as well, it can be very hard to get back into that frame of mind, and essay writing and research skills. But also on top of that, you can have still the same barriers in adult learners as you do with children. So perhaps not being able to concentrate for a certain length of time in a lecture situation. Same with adults, as is with children. You've also got learning difficulties which are present in children as well as present in adults, whether it's dyslexia, for example. So I think, yes, there are much more added pressure on adults to learn, and perhaps a lack of support maybe for adult learners, but still there's some difficulties which are in both age groups, no matter how old you are.
Excellent. And is there anything final that you'd like to add that you think we've missed off?
No, I don't think so.
Splendid.